Hello viewers, and welcome to today's episode on Time with Your Banker and Financial Advisor, sponsored by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. This evening we have a seasoned banker by name Mr. Francis Owusu Acheampong, and we're going to discuss electronic banking, the risks associated with it, and how to curb those risks. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
For quick and easy banking on your mobile, like checking your balance or transferring money, use our mobile banking services today. To find out more, visit us online at ecobank.com. Move on up with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Welcome back. As I said earlier, with me today is Mr. Francis Owusu Acheampong, a seasoned banker who holds fellowship in the banking industry. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, sir. I know your passion is electronic banking. Can you tell us something about electronic banking?
Electronic banking is essentially a banking service that thrives on technology through the use of personal computers, laptops, smartphones, and other technological devices. Essentially, by electronic banking, we are talking of a situation where a banking service is transmitted instantly. And the beauty about electronic banking is that it's based mainly on internet facilities, not restricted by geography. You can stay anywhere. You can be on a farm in Bremen, Sikuma, and be transmitting messages to your bankers or making payments to your customers, any banking service that is permitted by the bank, for instance, on your account.
But if you are talking about remote areas, the guarantee of you getting access, that's another thing.
The limitation is only internet access, and once you are linked by a telecommunication service, that is, wherever you find yourself, there's internet facilities, then you can always use internet banking.
So that means that without the internet, you can't work or you can't...
It works basically on telephony facilities, of which...
Because there are certain areas that you can't even access your phone.
Exactly, that is the same thing I'm talking about, that if you don't have telecommunication access, then you cannot use it. But the beauty about e-banking is that wherever you have such internet facility, you can always use it. A typical example is the new idea of mobile money, for instance, such that wherever you find yourself, once you can access
a phone.
Yes, once you can access a phone or you have network facilities. You
on
are
any of the communication outlets.
Exactly.
You can
with any of the communication companies providing access in an area where you are, then you can always have the joy and the advantage of using e-banking.
Okay. So you are saying you need telephone, you need computers, and what other things?
They are usually the main means by which electronic banking services are rendered. You are either using your laptop computer, smartphone, iPad, desktop computer, and similar such gadgets.
Now you can't use the YAM phone. How about the YAM phone?
I don't know what facilities are available on the YAM phone, but essentially
it should be an Android phone.
Yeah, or a smartphone, so to say. Yeah, any phone that permits you to access the telecommunication operators' facilities.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what again can you talk about on e-banking?
E-banking, I must say, it's an innovation in banking that has really come to expand the scope of banking. such that now you are not limited to only brick and mortar. You are not limited to just the branch where your account is. You can always access your account. You can always find balances on your account. And now with the use of SMS, for instance, any transaction that hits your account is reflected on your smartphone, and that's the beauty about it. You see instantly what your balance is. You make a deposit today, the bank, by their link with the telecommunication agencies, can give you SMS alerts, and quickly you can see anything that happens on your account instantly.
Yes, sir, but how conversant is the customer with this facility?
Interestingly, the general high level of literacy has not been a big disadvantage in this area. It will surprise you to find that a lot of illiterate people, semi-illiterate people can still use, especially the mobile money service, which is a subset of the e-banking that I'm talking about.
Viewers, with me today is Mr. Francis Owusu Acheampong, and we are talking about e-banking. Our topic today is e-banking and the risks associated with it. Most Ghanaians are not so conversant with the usage of the e-banking. They think they might be defrauded, and they have negative perceptions about e-banking. But as the discussion goes on, I think as we following, we'll be able to get in-depth knowledge and be comfortable in using this facility, because sooner or later you have to rope in, and it's not something that is a 9-day wonder. It is catching up. So the earlier you join the queue, or the earlier you join the club, the better. Mr. Owusu Acheampong, you know, some years back, the central bank, or let me say government, introduced e-switch.
Yes.
That is also an electronic banking.
Exactly. It is also.
But I realized that it didn't go far. How about that? I'm just deviating a little from what our discussion.
Well, there are a variety of reasons, one of which was the perception, especially by the banks, that they were going to lose out on some of the services that they were previously rendering to customers at a fee. And they were not also too sure about the risk implications of this introduction. In fact, if I should, if you permit me, I'll make reference to an e-switch facility, a similar facility that was introduced in Malawi some years back. The difference here was that it was another private company which was holding the float or the cash that the customers had on their respective wallets. And the main difference with the Ghanaian system is that over here, the float is not held by a private company, which is susceptible to insolvency, liquidation, or whatever. The beauty about our system is that the float is held by regulation through banks, such that the telecoms, the funds that you have on your wallet are technically held in a bank. And to the extent that a bank is largely regulated by the central bank, then there is the assurance that another company is not going, which is going to hold the funds, would not fall along the way, because banks are by and large regulated extensively by the central bank.
So you think that was the main reason why?
In fact, that was the main reason why the Malawi example floundered. But luckily, our system is an enhanced version, which is not exposed to just one private company, but to the mainstream banks.
But all the same, e-switch didn't fly.
Yeah, it didn't fly because most often in our kind of situation where, excuse me to say, the level of illiteracy appears quite large, there's always misconceptions. And you'll be surprised that misconceptions in this particular case did not lie only with the general populace, but also with the banks themselves, who felt that they were going to lose out on some of the services that they would previously have rendered to them.
So what's the bank position now? With they competing with these communication companies? but the communication companies are holding deposits.
And they are holding the deposits with the banks.
With the banks. But at the same time, to some of the services that the banks render, like purchase of T-bills, that earns them commissions, it's being done by the telecommunications these days. So that fear of they thinking that their businesses will be taken over with the introduction of the e-switch has come up again. And what is their stake in this new terrain?
I think I would refer viewers who are interested in reading much further about this subject to a very good survey that has been conducted by PwC.
Yeah, PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Yes, the general conclusions are that, yeah, there are fears, but essentially the important thing is that there are so many opportunities that are inherent in the mobile money system, which is a subset of the e-banking, such that the banks do not really have to fear about the telecoms companies taking over their business. The important thing now is to strategically find linkages or collaboration or partnerships with the telecom companies. Because the point at which we are now, it will be disastrous to stop the telecom companies from where they have reached. The important thing is for regulation.
Moving fast.
Yes.
So if you can't beat them,
technology is such that if you can't beat them, you join them. And there are so many areas by which you can join them. In fact, while I wouldn't mention some banks' names, I know of banks which have provided facilities where customers can make transfers from their mobile money wallet onto their platform, mainstream bank account, or vice versa. And I think that is quite an innovation. So rather than sitting somewhere whining about somebody taking over your business, the important thing is
with new inventions. Viewers will take a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
For quick and easy banking on your mobile, like checking your balance or transferring money, use our mobile banking services today. To find out more, visit us online at ecobank.com. Move on up with EcoBank, the Pan-African bank.
Welcome back, viewers. Mr. Owusu, I know EcoBank has roped on to, I think, almost all the telecommunication. Their platform is open such that you can move funds from your mobile money onto the ATM and cash it. That is, if you have money in your wallet and you are hard pressed for it and you can't go to any mobile money transfer vendor, you can walk into any EcoBank ATM. You can cash monies from the ATM using your phone and having money in your wallet. So as you were saying, that some banks have collaborated with the communication companies and they are doing good business. I think it's in the right directions because I know EcoBank is in it.
Other banks also have similar platforms. To
I think recently I saw one or two
and not higher. Now we are talking about convenience, you are talking about accessibility, you are talking about ease of checking your balances wherever you find yourself. There is no limitation on time of accessing your account or getting access to funds. All these beautiful advantages are such that banks simply have to collaborate with the telecom companies to the advantage of the customer, so that there will be a win-win situation.
That is it. Because one other thing I have realized also is that you just don't go to the bank and want to transfer 20 Ghana cedis to somebody. You have to, maybe if you have to walk long distances, you get to the banking hall, you have to wait. It's choked. Apart from that, you have to fill forms here, forms there. So if you just enter a vending kiosk, and then you just go within 5-10 minutes, you're done with your 10 or 20 cedis or 50 cedis transfer and you are off. So I think it's a very good idea and a very good initiative that the banks took in collaborating with the communication companies to streamline and then hold the economy firmly in this area. And I know that recently Bank of Ghana has started regulating them. Initially, they were not regulated. And that was where the fear was.
Now there is regulation. In fact, it is called the Electronic Money Issuers Guidelines.
Electronic Money Issuers Guidelines.
I mean, this regulation has been around for close to a year or about a year. And there are regulations as to what the telecom companies can do, what the banks can do, and as far as roping in even the agents, what it is that they can do. It goes as far as placing limits on the wallets. For instance, as far as I know, you can't have more than 10,000 Ghana cedis on any specific mobile wallet.
Unless you are a merchant.
Yes, and
merchants
then
can hold as
yes, that is why I'm making a distinguishing between the banks and the telecom agents. So there are various regulations around this, and the other idea also is to ensure that it doesn't become a medium for money laundering and terrorist financing. So these kind of controls help in minimizing the potential for abuse of the system.
And I also know that you can't take more than, I think, 2,000 cedis a day on your mobile.
Yeah, that is
from
true.
Your mobile.
That is true. But when you
wallet.
look at the generality of people, how many of us make transfers of that?
People do.
Yes, but if you look at the unbanked or the underserved community or segment of the market, I'm talking about the rural areas and other places where banks do not have their brick and mortar branches, etc. I mean, there are not too many of them who would be making those transfers. And in fact, even in the US, there's evidence to the effect that transactions less than $10, for instance, are mostly done along these systems. It is only transactions above. And how many such 2,000s would people be making? So I think the idea itself is fine. Obviously, we can't have a situation where there is a free-for-all or there's limitless amounts that one can. I mean, it doesn't happen anywhere. But I think one should commend the central bank for the first set of regulations that have been evolved. Over time, as things evolve, I'm sure they would have a second look at it and perhaps increase it depending on what dynamics have appeared.
I think it's also fair, because amounts above 2,000, you have to go to the bank to transact it. That will also give the bank some form of business, because if not, all the business and the commissions will be going to the telecommunication companies.
And not only the banks. I mean, you find that even in mainstream banking, there is a limit of cash that you can take across the counter. And the banks are not expected to give you unlimited cash because you have signed a check.
But if you are the account holder, you can have as much as you want. But if it is a third party, that's where the difficulty
yes, but
comes
essentially we are moving towards what we call a cash-light society. Some say cashless society. There's certainly nothing like cash-light. Cash meaning that we are using less cash in business transactions.
But some people use cashless, and that's
impossible. What I'm saying. I find it's quite of a misnomer. It is rather less use of cash or cash-light. And depending on how some economies have developed, and I'm told from my readings, Switzerland is one of the best countries where you find the real cash-light economy prevailing, such that just about 1.7% of transactions are handled through cash. And even back home in Africa, when you go to South Africa, a lot of transactions, if I mean, I'm not exaggerating, I can say that about 80% of transactions are conducted through electronic means, such that when you are depositing physical cash into your account, you are more or less penalized by a cash deposit fee. because the idea is that everybody should be encouraged to use electronic banking as much as possible. And it works quite well. It helps in situations where we control money laundering. It helps with all the security implications in moving cash from one point to the other and all of that. And the use of ATMs, for instance, is so widespread that almost everybody understands. And one other thing too is we shouldn't always harp on illiteracy as if because of illiteracy people cannot use electronic banking. It's a fallacy. Go to the market, Kumasi Central Market, and see how many, excuse me to say, illiterate women are using calculators in business.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised. So helping them to access electronic banking is only a shade above what they are already used to. It's not a really big deal as far as I'm concerned. And
as to the cash light, it will also help the government in reducing printing of our CD, because we use hard and foreign currency in the printing of it. So if we are able to have a cash light economy, it will also
inure to everybody's benefits.
Monies that can be used in that area could also be used in other infrastructural.
May even stem robbery and associated security implications and all of that.
Viewers, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
For quick and easy banking on your mobile, like checking your balance or transferring money, use our mobile banking services today. To find out more, visit us online at Acheampong.com. Move on up with Ecobank, the Pan-African bank.
Welcome back. This program is sponsored by Ecobank, the Pan-African Bank, and supported by Ed Pizza. If you want sumptuous, mouth-watering pizza, you better check Ed Pizza out. They are located on the Ring Road in Tema, Takrady, and they are also located around East Legon, towards American House. Mr. Owusu Acheampong, you've raised very interesting points. And so far, we've seen why the e-switch didn't fly. And we've also seen the way the banks have now collaborated. We've discussed how the bank has now collaborated with the telecommunication industry, and they are giving us excellent services. Somebody will say par excellence because it's not complete services, but at least Ghanaians are comfortable now in their remittances, transfers, and they feel confidence in the economy. And I think it will go a long way to help strengthen our economy. What is your last word?
Yeah, my last word is to correct the impression that e-switch did not work. In fact, it's still working, and it does work. The upgrade of the e-switch is the GH link. Where the banks are now interconnected, such that when I hold a GH link card issued by one bank, I can access funds from another bank. I think initially there was some kind of a restriction. Once you have a card, then you are restricted to just that bank. But now the GH link works almost like any Visa card. The only limitation is that it works within the geographical area of Ghana. So that is an enhancement to the initial idea of the e-switch. So
yeah, but unfortunately our time is up. Yeah. I'll want you to make time for us again so that we can talk about this GH link, and then look at other card services that the bank is rendering in getting quick access to money transfer and remittances in general. Okay. So when can we meet again?
Anytime.
We'll talk later.
Anytime you call, yeah. I'll be available.
Viewers, this is where we'll end today's episode on Time with Your Banker and Financial Advisor, sponsored by Ecobank, the Pan-African Bank, and supported by Belacqua and Ed Pizza. Stay tuned and meet us same time again on Time with Your Banker and Financial Advisor with your host, Betty Aye.